Hey guys, it's the Whale coming at you with my Abyss Actor deck that I managed to get second place at my locals this past week. Before I get started with the video, like always, there's going to be a deck image down below if you guys just care about the deck image. This is a newer profile that I'm going to profile for the channel, so expect a longer video to explain some of my card ratios and card choices, and some of my thought processes. This is a going first Abyss Actor deck, though the deck can obviously go second probably better than it can go first. I just like going first. And by all means, I'm not a pro in this deck. I just managed to pick it up because it was like super inexpensive. I think I spent like $14 on the cards that I needed, and that was basically the deck. So if you guys just want an inexpensive pendulum deck, you guys have Abyss Actors. So let's get straight into the profile, guys. We have 3 Abyss Actor extras. This card is usually the card that you want to start it off with most of your plays. So essentially, if your opponent, its pendulum effect on its scale is that if your opponent controls a monster, you can special summon it from your scale. And then its monster effect states that you contribute this monster to place another Abyss Actor pendulum monster in a pendulum scale. So I just want to state that most of these card effects lock you into Abyss Actor monsters for the rest of the turn, either Abyss Actor monsters or just Abyss Actor pendulum monsters. So please keep in mind, in some of the combos that you need to go through, you do need to link climb first before you actually use their effects, because some of their effects do lock you to pendulum Abyss monsters only. So 3 extras. Fantastic card. It's the card that you usually want to see. It's the card that you usually are going to be searching. With extras, we're obviously going to be running the 3 Curtain Raiser. So Curtain Raiser is essentially a free special summon, but its effect is also super nifty. If you guys have seen it in other decks, its pendulum effect states that in its pendulum zone, if you do not control a monster, you can special summon out this monster from your pendulum zone. Only once per duel, though. So it's a great combo starter, but its monster effect actually comes in handy in its own archetype. Man, who would have thought, right? So it basically states that it gains 1,000 attack while you control no other monsters, which that rarely ever comes up, to be honest, minus turn 1. And then once per turn, you can send 1 Abyss Script spell from your deck to the graveyard as cost, to then add a face-up Abyss Actor pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand. So the combo goes, you go extras effect in the pendulum zone, you special summon an extras effect in the monster zone to tribute it, you place Curtain Raiser, you do not control a monster, you then Curtain Raiser effect to special summon itself, you Curtain Raiser effect to dump any Abyss Script that you need in the graveyard, to then add extras from your extra deck to your hand. And then you can set your pendulum, you can activate your pendulum extras to allow you to kind of further on your combos. That's usually like the whole main play. Something I do want to state about this deck, I feel like the reason I got second place, I did go 4 rounds, only losing to Salamangreat, which he actually won, got first at locals, but it's actually because they don't know where to hand trap you. They don't know where to disrupt your plays. You don't understand how many times my Curtain Raiser has gotten either impermed or veilered, and I'm just laughing because you just keep going on. This deck has so many 1-card / 2-card combos. It's kind of crazy. Obviously the arch enemy of pendulum decks is Nibiru, but that's okay. So let's keep going. We're running 3 Wild Hope. Wild Hope is another 3 of in this deck. So what this card does is essentially its pendulum effect just makes it that you target another pendulum monster and you control in your other skill and make it a level 9 until the end of the turn. And then you can only pendulum summon Abyss Actor monsters for the rest of the turn. Even if this card leaves the field, whatever, not a big deal. Its monster effect is the reason why we actually use it, because once per turn, this card gains 100 attack for every Abyss Actor monster you currently control with a different name, which is kind of garbage, to be honest, but it really does help for those OTK pushes. Remember, we are a pendulum deck, so OTKs are obviously on the table. But its secondary effect is that if this card were to get destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can add any Abyss card from your deck to your hand. So I value this card extremely highly, because in your combo with your link 2 destroys, so you always want a quick effect, destroy Wild Hope to place your field spell, and then you can trigger Wild Hope to basically add a dress rehearsal for next turn or any type of follow-up that you need. So Wild Hope is extremely good. For the next searcher of the deck, we are running 2 Melo Madonna. So I'm only opting to run 2 Melo Madonna. So let's go. Let's say what Melo Madonna is first. Number one, it's a 0 scale. You really do want to set up your scales with this deck. Okay. Number two, it has a pendulum effect that is extremely important. It's usually when most people decide to ash in this deck. Because it's like, oh, I kind of know Abyss actors, so they ash the Melo Madonna. Essentially, it states that you can pay 1,000 life points to add 1 Abyss Actor Pendulum monster from your deck to your hand, except Abyss Actor Melo Madonna. And then also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except Abyss Actor Pendulum monsters. This card is the last card of your combo that you want to use its effect, because remember, you're going to be linking off, you're going to be going into links and stuff like that. So you do not want to start off your turn with Melo Madonna effect, because you will get locked out of your main plays. I feel like this is one of the pendulum decks that really transitioned well into the link era. So yeah, this is a really good sleeper deck. Its monster effect is actually super good as well. It's really good for pushes. So it gains 100 attack for each Abyss script spell in your graveyard. And then every time, when a pendulum monster you control is destroyed by battle, you can special summon this card from your hand. That barely ever comes up. Its second effect, though, always comes up. If an Abyss script spell, card, or effect is activated, you can special summon 1 level 4 Abyss Actor Pendulum monster from your deck, but return it to the hand during the end phase. That is extremely important when going for pushes, because you can pendulum summon Melo Madonna, right? You can activate any of your Abyss scripts and or their effects, if your opponent pops them, right? And then its effect triggers to special summon a level 4, which can special summon out a Wild Hope, or it can special summon out any other level 4 lower Abyss actor, so you can go into OTKs. This card's really good. Also, there is a really nifty thing with this and the main creature swap of the deck, which is Comic Relief. So if you special summon out a monster off of Melo Madonna's effect, and then you creature swap it with oh my goodness, Comic Relief, you can creature swap the monster. That monster at the end of the turn that you gave to your opponent, that Abyss Actor monster, bounces back to your hand if you don't destroy it. I've never really used that effect because I've always tried to go for game, but it's an effect that maybe you guys can keep in mind. So for the other heavy hitters, we're running the 2 Superstar. Oh, by the way, I guess I should talk about the 2 Melo Madonna. Why not 3? Because some lists do play 3 Melo Madonna. And that is because I play 3 Wild Hope. I just think Wild Hope is a better Melo Madonna. And a Melo Madonna, I don't always want to see it because she's already part of your combo to search it out. So you're always going to be able to search out Melo Madonna. So I never really need to, I guess, I don't know. I never miss 3. I don't think 3 is needed in the deck. 2 Superstar. Superstar is your heavy hitter of the deck. So it's a 2,500 body. So essentially, the monster effect is the most important one, which states that when this card is normal or special summon, your opponent cannot activate spell or trap cards or effects. So that's pretty good, like on the actual summon. So if you pendulum summon like 5 monsters, your opponent can't like floodgate trap hole it or something like that, which did come up against my trap trick matchup. And then once per turn, you can set 1 Abyss script spell from your deck, but send it to the graveyard at the end of the turn. So that's really good because it basically allows you to set any Abyss script that you need, activate the effect, and then, kind of pop off from there. The Abyss scripts themselves, their main effect, the ones that you activate, are fairly weak, minus maybe 1 or 2, but their popping effect, meaning that your opponent destroying them, are extremely strong, and we'll get through how you do that. So you always want to search out Superstar off of Melo Madonna if you don't already have it in hand, because this card is really good to have in rotation. Its pendulum effect never came up in the tournament, but it's also really good. It's your way of basically recycling your Abyss script. So once per turn, when this card is in the pendulum zone, you contribute an Abyss actor monster you control to target 1 Abyss script spell in your graveyard, add it to the hand. Honestly, that effect never came up because if Superstar hit the field, either it was turn 1 or the game was going to end because I would OTK. So let's go on to the next Abyss actors. We're running the 2 Comic Relief. So in some Abyss actor lists, this card is played at 3. I do not need to play it at 3 because, again, this is highly searchable. The deck is super insanely consistent. You usually see every Abyss actor monster you need in one go of your combo, so I don't ever find myself really needing multiple Comic Reliefs, though the card is really good. So the most important thing about Comic Relief is that it's a scale 8. So what you usually want to have is a Comic Relief with a Melo Madonna. That way you have your scales of 8 and 0, and you're free to spend pendulum summon all your Abyss monster pendulum monsters. So now to the effect of Comic Relief. So its pendulum effect states that you can target one Abyss Actor pendulum monster you control and one monster your opponent controls, which and switch the control of the targets. Then destroy this card in your pendulum zone. So it has a creature swap like effect that you target, which is really good. I've won multiple games just basically off Nibiruing my opponent on turn 0, and then it goes back to my turn, and then I Comic Relief, I do my combo, and I give them like a weak monster like Wild Hope off of their 4K Nibiru token, and I just proceed to attack for game. Comic Relief's monster effect actually also did come up as well. So it basically states that you take no battle damage from attacks involving this card. Once per turn during the standby phase, give control of this card to your opponent. Once per turn, if this face-up card changes, activate this effect. The owner of this card can destroy one set Abyss script in the spell and trap card zone. So this actually did come up because I had a Comic Relief in the spell and trap card zone, in my pendulum zone. So I pendulum summoned another Comic Relief, and then I activated its effect. I gave them the Comic Relief, and the Comic Relief's effect has to activate to pop a set spell or trap card that I control, because it's obviously an effect that activates on my opponent's side of the field. They popped an Abyss script, and I just managed to bounce 2 of their cards non-targeting back to their hand, and I ended up pushing for game. Excuse me, guys. So that's really good. The monster effect did come up. And for the last Abyss Actor monster that I am running is the one Liberty Dramatist. So this card, I know a lot of Abyss Actor players don't run it. Before I get started on why I think the card is good, I'd rather run this than a third Comic Relief. By all means, if you don't like this card, you could run a third Comic Relief. The only reason I run it was because not only is another scale 8, it's a level 4. I can totally rip off of Melo Madonna if I'm trying to push for game. Not only that, the other Abyss Actor cards are kind of bad. Evil Heal, yeah, sure, it's a beater, but it doesn't fit your scales very well. And then Sassy Rookie, it's just protection against destruction, which you would think, damn, we're in a fire format. But keep in mind, if you're already utilizing that effect, you're probably already on the back foot of the game, because this deck really wants to OTK at least by turn 2. So yeah, I feel like this helps you. Now let's go on to the effect. So the pendulum effect is the most important one. So usually its effect is when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can discard 1 card. Okay, special summon this card from your to your opponent's side of the field from the pendulum zone, and then it has a monster effect. And then its monster effect is, if this card is special summoned from the pendulum zone, the owner of this card reveals 3 Abyss scripts from their deck. The owner being you, right? Your opponent randomly picks 1 and sets it on the field, but the owner destroys it during the end phase. Also shuffle the rest into your deck. If this card is destroyed, you can shuffle 1 Abyss script spell from your graveyard to the deck. So basically, this solves the problem of this deck, that you basically only ever get 1 Abyss script pop during your opponent's turn off of the field spell, and then they usually don't pop anything else. That wouldn't be the case with this, because if I have this in my pendulum zone, my opponent declares an attack, I can discard it, set an Abyss script, and then during the end phase, that Abyss script ends up popping. Since it did get popped by an opponent's card effect, its effect activates to accommodate the situation that I'm in and hopefully go to an OTK next turn. This came extremely helpful for me, and honestly, I wouldn't change this at all. But by all means, if you guys don't like it because you have to discard a card or whatever, feel free to, But I think this is really good, and I personally think it's better than Sassy Rookie. So let's go on to the hand trap. The reason why this deck is good is because it not only is it extremely consistent, it can fit a very decent amount of hand traps. So we're obviously running the obligatory 3 Ash Blossoms and Joyous Spring. Card's just really good right now. 3 Nibiru. I think Nibiru you do have to run in this deck because not only is it a fantastic hand trap that if your opponent doesn't respect, it can basically wipe out the game, but with you having Comic Relief, this becomes an OTK enabler. So please keep that in mind. We're running 3 Effect Veiler. I think, at least in my local meta, I think Effect Negation is really good. We do have things like Salamangreats in my locals and like branded and stuff like that, which I feel like, uh, I think Baylor is just really good. By all means, you can play Droll or any other hand trap of your liking if you like. 3 Infinite Impermanence. This card's really good. The reason why this deck can play a fair bit of hand traps is because one of their Abyss scripts lets you draw up to 5 cards. So depending on the nature of your hand, you can go for that to draw into more hand traps. But I'll get to that when we get to the Abyss scripts. Speaking about the Abyss scripts, this is the rest of the deck, which is the spells. So we're running 3 of the Abyss Actor's Dress Rehearsal. This is probably the best spell in the deck because this is basically a +2. So essentially you can activate this only on your main phase 1, at the start of main phase 1. So it's almost as a pot of extravagance. Add 1 Abyss Actor card and 1 Abyss Actor spell from your deck to the hand. But for the rest of the turn, you cannot pendulum summon monsters except Abyss Actor monsters. So the restriction is whatever. I mean, it's not that big a deal. But this card is basically ash bait. It's basically ash bait, and if it gets ashed, you're really not crying about it too much because more than likely you already have an Abyss Actor monster in your hand, so you can just go on to your plays and you don't have to worry about ash. And the next cards you would have to worry about is probably like Impermavailer. But this card is just obviously extremely powerful, especially if it resolves. You can get any Abyss script that you need or any Abyss monster that you need, Abyss Actor monster that you need. Speaking about the Abyss scripts, we are playing the 2 Dramatic Story. Some people play this at 1. I think 2 is just fantastic. The Abyss script spells have extremely weak effects, but there's 2 in particular that have really good effects. So, Abyss script Dramatic Story. Target 1 Abyss Actor pendulum monster you control, special summon 1 Abyss Actor monster from your deck with a different name, then place the targeted monster in your pendulum zone or destroy it. This card is fantastic with Wild Hope, as you guys can tell. If Wild Hope is destroyed by battle or by card effect, you get to add any Abyss Actor card from your deck to your graveyard. From your deck to the hand, I'm sorry. And Dramatic Story is basically just an E-Telly for the deck. It's a fantastic card. But it also has another fantastic effect that if this card is set in your spell and trap card zone is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you have an Abyss Actor pendulum monster in your extra deck, you can return up to 2 cards on the field to the hand. This is non-targeting effect. This card is fantastic. I think 2 is really good. I tried playing with 3 and I saw it a little bit too much for my liking, so I just think 2 is just a really good number. For the other 2-ofs, we're playing 2 Abyss script Rise of the Abyss King. So this card right here is another phenomenal card that allows you to push for game. It's not a once per turn, so that's also really good. So it states that target face-up cards on the field up to the number of attack position Abyss Actor monsters with different names you control and destroy them. That might not sound so good right now, but check this other line of text. If you control a level 7 or higher Abyss Actor monster, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation. That right there is phenomenal. You're always going to have a level 7 or higher pendulum monster being probably Superstar, because you always want to pendulum summon Superstar out to use its effect. And with Superstar's effect, you can activate its effect to set a Rise of the Abyss King straight from the deck and just activate it there. So this card right here is so good for pushing for game. It's just fantastic, and it's not a once per turn effect, so you can just keep on resetting it and activating it until you clear off enough of your opponent's board where you can push for game. Its set effect is if this card in its owner's control is destroyed by an opponent's card effect and you have a face-up Abyss Actor pendulum monster in your extra deck, you can add up to 2 Abyss Actor cards or Abyss Actor scripts from your deck to the hand with different names. So this is basically a Dress Rehearsal and a Wild Hope. That effect is kind of whatever. I don't really utilize that effect too much. For the other Abyss scripts, we are running the 1 Opening Ceremony. Opening Ceremony states that, like I said, this one's one of the weaker ones. Gain 500 life points for each Abyss Actor monster you control. So I guess it helps you during time. I never went in time with this deck, but that's because I always went for the OTK push really early on. If this card in its owner's control is destroyed by battle or by card, if this card in its owner's control is destroyed by your opponent's card effect, and you have a face-up Abyss Actor pendulum monster in your extra deck, you can draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. So essentially, what you want to do is you want to regurgitate your hand turn one, right? You want to be left with like maybe two cards, maybe an Ash Blossom or a Veiler or something like that. And then you really want to use those cards as soon as possible. You want to get down on resources so that when your opponent activates a monster effect and you have your field spell up, you can pop this set card and you just draw 5 cards. So you basically draw into a whole bunch of engine and a whole bunch of other hand traps. That's why hand traps in this deck is really, really good. And obviously this came up quite a lot. You don't always go for the draw 5 play. It all depends on your hand. So if you already have a hand of like 3 hand traps, you don't need to set the opening ceremony. You can set the dramatic story and then go for disruption instead, because this isn't technically disruption. And then for the last Abyss script, you are running the 1 Abyss script, Abysstainment. This right here is the only continuous spell in the deck. So usually this is the card that you set off of Superstar. So it states that you contribute 1 Abyss actor monster to target 1 Abyss script in your graveyard to set it on your field. You can only use its effect up to twice per turn. Okay, so you can set up to 2 Abyss scripts per turn. And then its set effect is that obviously, like all of them, if this card is destroyed by your opponent's card effect, you can special summon any number of Abyss Actor monsters from your deck. So technically, this does help for OTK pushes. Turn 0, that effect isn't really that good, but still, it's there, you know. This deck can play around Nibiru fairly well, and what plays around Nibiru is this card right here. Abyss Playhouse Fantastic Theater. This card is extremely good. You're only playing it at 1, though I do see some people play it at 2 because they like it. I really don't. But its effect states that you can reveal 1 Abyss Actor Pendulum monster and 1 Abyss Script spell in your hand to add 1 Abyss Script spell from your deck to your hand with a different name than the card that you reveal. So this right here can get you like a dramatic story to kind of kick off your plays. But its most important effect it states that while you control a Pendulum Summoned Abyss Actor monster, okay, any monster effect activated by your opponent becomes destroy 1 set spell and trap card your opponent control. You can only use the effect once per turn. So basically the first effect your opponent activates becomes destroy a set spell and trap card your opponent controls. If you guys don't know the gist of it, you basically activate this during your opponent's turn off of your Link 2 with 1 set spell and trap card, okay? And then let's just say they activate Snake Eyes Ash, okay? Instead of Snake Eyes Ash adding, its effect becomes pop set spell and trap card your opponent controls. So you pop this, and then this resolves because it was destroyed off of an opponent's card effect. You can also, the cool thing about this and what makes this deck extremely potent is that you can activate this mid-chain. Meaning, if you don't have this on the field at the moment that they activate a monster effect, you can activate your Link 2 effect, destroy one of your monsters, one of your pendulum or one of your cards or whatever, and then place this. And this activates mid-chain. So even though it's like Chainlink 1 Snake Eyes Ash, Chainlink 2 Super Producer to set this or to activate this from the deck, its effect still becomes pop set spell or trap card your opponent controls. So I think that's pretty nifty. It's a pretty cool way of interacting with the opponent. And for the last 2 spells, I am running 2 Triple Tactics Talents. This was actually Super Polymerization, but I opted to play Triple Tactics because you're always going to get hand trap. This is a hand trap heavy format, and I just think Triple Tactics is just so good. Not only if they Ash Blossom you and you only had 1 Pendulum monster, you can just draw into multiples afterwards, but also for OTK pushes to steal your opponent's monster and just kind of go for game. So I think Triple Tact is really good in the main deck. Let's go off into the, let's do side deck. So my side deck was fairly basic. Like I said, this is more of a for fun build, but I managed to do really well with it, and I'm actually kind of want to take it back again to locals. We're running 2 Pankratops. Pankratops is obviously really good. The reason why I'm running 2 is because I'm scared of anti-spell. This is a pendulum deck, so you really want to have a lot of outs to anti-spell. That was kind of like my main thing. Actually, the reason why I didn't win against the Silent Mind Gray player was because he had anti-spell, so that was pretty sad. So anyways, 2 Pankratops. This deck, obviously you want to board break and go for game. So when you're stuck going second, 3 Lava Golems. It was okay. I mean, it's not the best card against, obviously, Snake Eyes, Fire King Snake Eyes, because they can just pop it with Princess. But it's still good. It still minimizes a lot of their disruption. For the spells, 2 Lightning Storms, 3 Solemn Judgment, because obviously we don't really have that many negates against like evenly and stuff like that. I am running the 3 different dimension grounds. This card's really good. I didn't realize how good this card was, and then I remembered, oh, Shifter's a pretty good card. So for going first, I usually activate this during draw. If I have 2 set Spoiler Trap cards, I usually activate this during draw phase. So then, it's basically a 1-turn different dimension ground. And to help into that, I do run the 1 Trap Trick, and then I had 1 more card in the side deck, so I decided to go into Ghost and Match. All these cards actually came up, minus the Lava Golem, to be completely fair. But all those cards came up. For the extra deck is not complete because I really don't ever go into anything that's not Abyss Actors because you lock yourself inherently. But in the deck image, you guys will be seeing a completed extra deck. So we're running the 3 Hyper Director. This card is really, really good. Essentially, it just requires 1 Abyss Actor Pendulum monster, and this is the start of all your combos. Usually the weak point of the deck is this. So if you can Imperm or Veiler this, then it's a kind of a strong choke point if you don't have enough gas. So it states that you can target 1 card in your Pendulum Zone to special summon it, okay? And then place an Abyss Actor Pendulum monster with a different name from your deck or face-up extra deck to the Pendulum Zone. And you can add normal or special summon monsters for the rest of the turn, except Abyss Actor monsters. So the whole combo, I don't know if I have that much time to really do it, but essentially is you have extras, activate extras effect to put it in the to tribute it, and then do Curtain Raiser effect to dump any Abyss script to add extras back to the hand, and then you're gonna activate extras. You're gonna link Curtain Raiser off into a Hyper Director. Hyper Director is going to special summon out the extras, and Hyper Director will then set a whatever pendulum monster that you need, but most of the time you're going to be setting up for a Melo Madonna. And then now you have these 2 on the field. You're not going to activate Melo Madonna's effect because remember it locks you into Pendulum Abyss Abyss Actor monsters. So you're going to link these 2 off into a Super Producer, which we are running 3 of. And Super Producer is obviously the broken part of the deck because Super Producer has a quick effect during the main phase that you can destroy 1 card you control, 1 face-up card you control, to then place an Abyss Actor Playhouse from your deck to your field. So it's really, really good. That's usually the main combo. And it's your main sort of disruption. This card is just so good. You usually want to sit on your link 2 and then activate the Melo Madonna because then you're not locked into any type of restrictions. But Super Producer is just really good. For the rest of the links, now that I really went into them, the 1 Beyond the Pendulum, 1 Exceed the Pendulum, 1 Dark, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Phoenix, another I guess removal tool for anti-spell, 1 Avramax, and the 141 Babushka, and the 1 Abyss Dweller. That is it for the deck, guys. I know this one's a pretty long one, so hopefully you guys enjoy. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And this has been Puzzle Will. Catch you guys later.